When you log into iSpec, you get to see the dashboard. Here you get an overview of everything that is happening in your organization on a global level, or you can filter this down to specific business units, vendors, categories, etc., and then you can also filter it to look at only the projects that you are responsible for. This is useful for senior management to get an overview of their organization globally or at any level they choose. Any squares that are marked in red contain overdue items requiring immediate action. So if you want to see which tenders have outstanding clarifications, you can click here and see all the items, and then you can either respond from here or go to the specific item for more information and respond from there. Apart from all these alerts, you can see your favorite projects and most recently accessed ones listed on the dashboard, as well as the current progress of tenders through the various phases and the total value of all active and awarded tenders. iSpec will also send out an email every night that includes all your action items for the next day. iSpec contains a master library where you can create templates for projects that you repeat on a regular basis. This avoids having to do repetitive research and promotes standardization and procedural compliance. As an example, here is a template for ship-to-shore cranes. These are the cranes used at ports to load or unload containers from ships. They cost around $10 million a piece, and the documentation related to such a tender is nearly 1,000 A4 pages. This includes documents such as the agreement, milestone schedule, pricing schedule, technical specifications, inspection protocols, etc. Everything that is part of the tender as well as the final contract is included in the template. Let's take a look at the letter of tender. The documents look just like Word in outline mode. The pricing schedule is similar with all the items that requiring pricing. We set up the required vendor responses in our templates. In the case of this heading or section, we can see that it falls under the pricing evaluation category, and we can see the vendor must supply pricing, state whether he complies with the requirement, and may add text or attachments to his response. Of course, during tender preparation, the number of units needs to be entered. All of these settings are set up here, including any of the following, such as the evaluation category of this item, delivery and commissioning dates, whether the vendor must supply a text response or attachments, perhaps containing information on his technical design of brochures and other data relating to the item under question, whether the vendor must state his compliance with this section or item, and finally, with this item requires a price to be entered. This is how all the documents in a template are set up, and then it becomes very simple to create a new tender each time we need to buy new cranes. Of course, during tender preparation, the templates are completed with the information specific to that project. Specifications and requirements may vary from project to project, as well as the number of cranes we want to purchase, etc. We can also lock certain sections or clauses so that they cannot be edited during tender preparation and therefore ensure compliance with certain standards, etc. Another feature is that clauses or sections that are identical for different types of projects can be created once and shared in different documents in different templates, but only need to be updated in one place and are automatically updated everywhere they are used. They can also be assigned an owner who needs to approve any changes. This allows for better corporate control and compliance. iSpec also tracks any changes made to sections or clauses at any time by anyone. This is saved as part of the audit trail. In the same way, you can have a milestone schedule that contains all the milestones and the dates that they are due, whether these milestones are physical deliverables or items such as insurance bonds, bank guarantees, or any other measurable. Now, whether we use a template or create a tender from scratch does not matter. As an example though, let's go and look at a tender created using this template. It has gone through preparation, the various required approvals, been published, the vendors have responded and submitted their bids, and we are now in the evaluation negotiation phase. On the left we have various panels that manage all the functions in the tender. On the right, iSpec displays messages for all items requiring your attention, so you cannot forget to do anything or do it in the wrong order. It won't allow you to. iSpec is great in enforcing procedural compliance. First of all, let's take a look at the tender properties. When we created it, we chose a specific RFX type. Different types of RFX can be created with different workflows and approval requirements such as content approval, budget approval, legal approval, procurement approval, bid opening approvals, e-bidding, commercial bid opening approvals, contract awarding approval, etc. These workflows and approvals can be fixed for different types of RFX and will then be enforced during tendering. We can also define other parameters such as the publication and closing dates, currencies allowed for tendering, and budgets and KPIs. Also, iSpec uses roles to assign specific permissions to the different team members of a tender or project. For example, only the procurement department can change or negotiate prices and payment terms, while only the legal department can change or negotiate the terms and conditions of the legal agreement, and only the engineering team can edit or approve changes to the technical specifications. This gives you very tight control over documents and procedures. The administrator can set up as many document types and roles to enforce the organization's business rules as is required. Default roles can be assigned for users and projects per business unit so that these don't have to be set up manually for each tender. However, they can be edited by the project manager if required. In this case, we only have 2 people managing the tender, but typically there would be different teams assigned to technical approvals and evaluations, commercial negotiations, bid opening and contract awarding approvals, etc. In the Documents panel, we can see iSpec has copied all the necessary documents from the template we looked at earlier. During tender preparation, we had to fill in all the necessary information that is specific to this tender. Again, iSpec would not allow us to continue with approvals or publication until everything was completed, and of course any sections that are locked down cannot normally be edited without permission. We can see iSpec also copied across the evaluation settings from the template along with the various weightings which we could have adjusted during tender preparation if required. Evaluations can be done in various phases, either in parallel or in sequence, thereby allowing for us to first do a technical evaluation, for example, then shortlist the compliant vendors, after which we would then only open the commercial submissions of those shortlisted vendors for the commercial evaluation phase. In the vendor panel, we can see the vendors that were invited and which of them submitted bids. In the Approvals panel, we can see who performed the various approvals along with any comments. In the Vendor Bid Evaluation Report, we can instantly see how compliant each vendor was with our requirement and how far negotiations have progressed. In the Evaluation Scoring Reports, we can view the different evaluation results. For example, the technical evaluation consists of 3 categories: contractual, insurance, and bonds, and the technical section. Each of these can be broken down into various subcategories as well so that we can have a very detailed evaluation of the project. In this example, you can see how some categories have up to 18 subcategories that are scored. Should we wish to see the detailed scores given by the technical evaluation team, we can do so as well. Here we can select a specific item and see the scores given along with any possible comments. There are also various comparison reports that can be viewed. For example, we can go to the Pricing Comparison Report and compare vendor prices. If necessary, we can request clarifications directly from this screen just as the vendor does from us. We can also negotiate or accept a price directly and do what-if scenarios by including or excluding items. Once all evaluations are complete, we can update our executive summary for senior management to view when approving the contract awarding. This contains a brief summary of the entire process as well as our recommendations. This obviates the need for them to go through all the detail unnecessarily. Now comes the delivery or contract management phase. Here we can get an overview of any overdue items for each project. We can instantly see the status of the various deliverables or milestones. Vendors also have access to the system to report deliverables and upload delivery notes, commissioning test reports, inspection reports, etc. We can then go in and approve, accept those items, and mark them as done. Contract amendments or variations are also managed in iSpec. If a clause requires changing either during negotiations or after awarding, as often happens, the project manager can make the necessary edits to the required section, which is then redlined, and the vendor is notified automatically via email so that he can review and accept or negotiate further regarding the change. Revision details can be viewed to see exactly what has changed. Once accepted by the vendor, the red line is replaced with a green line showing this item contains amendments. If you want to do a reverse action or e-bidding tender, you can invite vendors to bid against each other and watch the action live as they try to outbid each other. The vendor user interface is much simpler and requires basically no training whatsoever. Vendors are sent automated invitations when tenders are published with login details and links to the tenders. All submissions and clarifications are done online. Clarifications are done from the heading or item in question. This way, all correspondence is stored and available from that item for future reference. No more searching through thousands of emails for the correct one. In complex projects, the customer often sends out project staff or third-party contractors to inspect the progress of the project or check quality of the installation or construction. iSpec is a mobile application that can be used by these inspectors to take pictures and gather information on the project's progress and/or items requiring attention while out in the field. Management can see these results live from their desktops or mobile phones as the inspections progress, and draw reports of progress and non-conformance reports or items require repair or further investigation. The system is fully integrated with iSpec, and so the field inspector has instant access to the specifications and documentation of the project under inspection.